What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back and from AZ Central, which is, of course, an Arizona left-wing hack rag, sort of like the San Francisco Chronicle, sort of like the New Yorker. It's just completely controlled propaganda. And this guy, E.J. Montoni, says at CPAC, Donald Trump and Kari Lake turn Republican Party into the Donner Party. I mean, bro, how much more hyperbolic can you get, right? So before it was just, oh, he's a racist. Oh, he's a misogynist. Now they're claiming that Trump and Lake are like the Donner Party. Like, you're pushing people away, okay? Nobody is going to continue to buy this, especially in Arizona, right? Look, obviously, people have their own opinions, but I guarantee you, when you drive around the streets of Arizona, the metro Phoenix area, you're not seeing barely any establishment left-wing nonsense stickers. You don't see any Katie Hobbs, go Katie. You see Kari Lake stuff all over the place. Trump, blue line flags, support our troops, veterans. And look, you don't have to enjoy that, but you're telling the people of Arizona that the woman who should be governor, I'll leave it there, was at CPAC with Donald Trump, and they turned the Republican Party into the Donner Party. It doesn't get any more extreme than that. And then they're going to look back at you when you ask a question about any of their platforms, Cartel Katie, right? If you ask a question, she wouldn't even debate Kari Lake. That's when we knew that something was wrong, obviously, because she's looking right at the people of Arizona and saying, I don't have to tell you anything. You're going to wear it. The machine's going to go to work for me, quite obviously, right? And we're talking about, this isn't California, right? It's completely compromised. Nobody can be trusted at this point. And this guy is trying to sell to Arizonans that Kari Lake and Donald Trump are worse than the Donner Party at CPAC, right? Like, who's paying you, bro? Nobody would actually write that on their own. That comes from a talking point up on high, bro. There's no way he just came up with that on his own. I don't believe so, right? In my humble opinion, obviously. He says, I've never watched The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead or The Last of Us or any other zombie TV series, but I'm beginning to think I may have missed out on some wildly entertaining programs. What are you talking about, bro? Particularly after having spent part of the weekend reading about and watching Republicans at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. eat their own dead. Oh, so it's not like what's happening in the establishment left when a guy like Don Lemon gets, quote unquote, canceled, right? They always eat their own. I mean, we literally saw, 6 months ago, they couldn't tell you what a woman was, and this month, it's Women's History Month. And he's pitching that the Republican Party is eating their own. And of course, there's infighting, because everybody thinks differently. And that's the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. I mean, okay, two sides of the same coins, two wings of the same bird, whatever, I understand that. But on the left, you have to obey every single thing. There is no room for any disagreement. There is no room for any discussion, which isn't really true on the right. They can disagree and have discussions, and that's a huge part of this problem. And for him to compare conservatives to zombies, give me a break, bro. You guys are the ones talking about safe injection sites and having literal trank fiends zombie walking through your cities, but he wants to pin it on the people at CPAC. And we also see stories from like the Daily Beast, like, oh, the crazy conspiracies in Trump world at CPAC, and they just write this hyperbolic nonsense that I guess they're just screaming into the echo chamber because they're obviously not changing anybody's mind. If anything, they're just pushing people away, right? Nobody on the conservative common sense right is going to say, oh, wow, this article really makes sense. Maybe I should change my position. No, they're screaming at a bunch of weirdos who are already completely brainwashed, just beating them into a paste with propaganda. And nobody's ever changing their mind. It really only goes one way. I mean, for the most part. Not always. But how many times do you see somebody, who's quote-unquote conservative really get swayed by the left-wing establishment and join them? No, it's the censorship. It's Oh, I jumped the gun there. No, it kind of only goes one way, and that's why they like censorship so much, is because people slowly but surely get off of their weirdo line, their weirdo talking points, their agenda, their plantation. They slowly get off, and that's why they want to censor people, is because it doesn't really go the other way, right? You rarely see somebody who was like, oh, I was, CNN will pull a couple people and say, I supported Trump, and now I don't because of January 6th or something stupid like that. But when it comes down to debating ideas and having conversations about actual policy, it really only goes one way. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to crack that nut. It takes a lot, it's like a kid needs a good teacher to understand math or fractions or something. It's like you gotta really thread the needle, because they're trained to scream you down and to call you all the names in the book. But if you can figure out how to get through that little brain worm, sometimes it can click. And this guy is talking, I don't know who he's talking to. He's preaching to the choir at his very best about comparing them to zombies. Meanwhile, you got a whole bunch of people still walking around in masks, eating up every little piece of establishment droppings that they throw down on the ground. Anyhow, not only were right-wing politicians and their lackeys on the menu, there also were the expected lies and attacks on President Joe Biden and a host of others, including loads of misinformation and wacky conspiracy theories about everything from the FBI to schools, students, and yes, gas stoves. Of course, it's all, it doesn't get any more predictable than this. Like we see that guy, Bakari Sellers, writing for The Root. They're saying things that are just so predictable, like switch it up a little bit. Change your argument once in a while. They just cycle through the same things. Oh, racism, homophobia, climate change, Rona, and then back at the top of the order, right? They never bring anything new because they have nothing. One right-wing speaker, Michael Knowles, even resurrected language that would have resonated in late 1930. Oh, of course. He's a Nazi. Saying that for the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated. No, that's just like 1930s Germany. My head is going to explode with these people. Who is this for? Who is still buying this? It's like a crazy cat lady, a college kid with purple hair. Who is still looking at this and saying, yes, that is 1930s Germany, exactly. They're big fascist, racist Nazis. Oh, man. Nobody's buying this, bro. You should stop selling it. Go back into the dungeon and come up with a good idea. Come up with something that makes sense. And they just won't do it because they know that the machine is so powerful. Ask Katie Hobbs, obviously. Sounds like MAGA is now rewriting the Bible. Vengeance is mine, saith the Donald. At the same time, one of the more disgustingly delicious items on the MAGA Eat MAGA menu was a dust-up between Arizona's not-so-lovable loser, Carrie Lake, and Jenna Ellis, Trump's former attorney. Ellis was having none of Lake's ongoing, unproven wild claims of a Look, there... Of course, like, our democracy's at stake. If we don't win, then you're a conspiracy theorist. And it's like, dude, you guys have control of everything. It's like when we constantly hear about, the systemic racism, and then you got an 80-year-old man like Joe Biden who's the president. Like, bro, you are the system, right? Like, you guys are in control, and you're constantly talking about how there's always these problems. You guys have the majority. You guys somehow won every single election. And anytime you question it, you're the problem, right? Don't worry about a guy sleeping outside a 7-Eleven in California with guns and pills and mail-in ballots in his car during Governor Newsom's recall. Don't worry about the machines that didn't work all morning in Arizona's election. Don't worry about any of that. You can't question us. We can, right? We see clips all the time. We see compilations of Democratic politicians talking about how they don't trust the machines, talking about how, so-and-so is illegitimate and they couldn't have possibly won. But they won't defend their positions. They'll just tell you obey it or we're going to call you a threat to the nation, right? You are the problem, right? You're going to end up like one of these January 6 people. Of course, now we see tapes of them being escorted around the building by cops, but that's a completely different story. Anyhow, this guy is a political hack, shill, loser, obviously. And this one is so bad. This is one of the ones where you can literally see the big bag with a $sign on it being handed to him as he finishes writing this article. You completely controlled moron. How does a grown man write something like this? You're writing like a college freshman with a Che Guevara shirt on. So, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.